Welcome back to Divine Radio. Um, yeah, I think before I get started, I just want to acknowledge how beautiful it is out here right now. Um, we've been getting a lot of rain. We're kind of getting out of our rainy season, um, and it's leading to a lot of just really gorgeous cloud formations, clear skies. Everything's just fresher than it normally is. So, um, just want to start with that before we dive into today's topic. Um, it is one that I had some hesitancy about recording. Um, I actually came out a few days ago and recorded a version of this episode, and I was just dealing with a lot of not only technical issues, but also just kind of internal issues. And and I actually kind of got down to some of the root of why that might have been right before I came out. But I think I realized like I even thought this as I was coming, like driving out here to this spot. I was just like, maybe I need to give it a little more time just to fully digest and to kind of shift my energy because I feel like my energy has been a little low. Been feeling a lot of like doubts and insecurities about doing this still, just in general. But then again, to bring up the topic to talk about what I'm going to talk about, um, I think there were some old wounds and trauma that I was carrying. Well, I don't think I know there was. Because today's topic isn't really it's not like it's not like triggers, it's coming more so from a place of observation about other people and kind of uh, a mindset or a mentality I'm noticing more and more. And um, and when I was doing kind of some reflection on that, I realized it's because I've been surrounded by that energy throughout my life, both with like close friends and um, family. And I didn't always recognize it as that, but you know, once I kind of became aware of the concept of like victim mindset, you know, it just it led to a lot of really uncomfortable situations and environments and feelings like within myself. Um, you know, I have a lot of compassion and patience for really anybody, but there's something about the victim mindset, especially coming from an adult and, somebody who just continues to like live in that cycle and kind of perpetuate it. It can be frustrating to be around, especially when it's somebody you care about, because you know that it's only hurting them and it's only creating more of that mentality within themselves. And all it's doing is just stunting their growth, not just spiritually, but just in general in life. And, um, and then also to see how some people take that mentality out on the people around them, whether it be family, friends, or complete perfect strangers. But, you know, I will say, I think in many cases, most of us have experienced it ourselves. Um, some of us have just been able to get past that, whether or not we realized we were working through it. So yeah, I think I just was feeling worry and fear and concern, and I think it stems from being afraid of getting attacked or um, upsetting somebody in a way where, yeah, they lash out because honestly, that's kind of a textbook reaction to somebody who's in the victim mindset. They're always looking and pointing the fingers and the blame at everything outside of them rather than, looking within themselves to see what's causing it or to see what they can do to change and shift that energy. Um, Also from experience, somebody who's in that victim mindset generally doesn't like to be called a victim, and they can't even admit it or own up to it. A lot of times they're not even aware that that's what they're doing. Um, so, I've had to kind of build a certain level of just acceptance and compassion for those kinds of people, who are caught up in that. But yeah, so this kind of came about, like this whole idea to do this as my third episode. When I was going to my little vape shop, and yes, I do smoke a vape. I know they're not good for you, but at the same time, I prefer it over smoking cigarettes, which is what I did for 15 years. So, with that out there and out in the open, yeah, I was going to my vape shop. I love that little spot. It's got the flavor I like, and it's the guy who usually is working when I go in is just really cool. He's got a good energy, and so I'm pulling up one day, and there's a bunch of like work trucks parked right outside of it. This is like a tiny little parking lot, so it's not hard to miss or tell where. Okay. Um, Anyway, so yeah, work trucks out front, and it's kind of hard to tell if they were even open. So I decided to walk up just to check, and they were open. So I went in, and you know they were installing a new door, and it looks like maybe the glass might have been new, at least from what I could tell. And I walk in, and I ask the guy, the guy I always go see, just like, you guys trying to up the security right now, or what's going on? He's like, yeah, you could say that. And then he starts to tell me what happened, the story. So um, it was the Friday of the full moon, I think, in Pisces that we just had at the end of February. And apparently a few guys decided to back a stolen car, and the car itself was actually stolen from a customer who goes there. So I'm not really sure how all that worked out. But stole a car, backed it through the glass door, glass window, and then like the metal barricade that was on the other side, backed it all the way up halfway into the store, you know, destroying not only the storefront but display cases. It was just a mess apparently. Um, and so yeah, so they had to, they stole, all right. So they backed into it, and they shattered everything. Um, and you would think for something like that major, where like they went to the trouble of stealing a car, that they would like wipe out the whole store. But they actually only took like a couple packets of loose leaves and a few cigarellos, and I think maybe a vape or two, but literally just like a handful of items for like a massive, massive destruction. Um, and I couldn't help but think, like, how ridiculous is that? I mean, that just seems so extreme. And so, yeah, so they backed the car in there. They left the car there because they had like a getaway vehicle parked out front on the road. And so I just, he and I were chatting, and I'm like, well, I was like, when did that happen? He was like, Friday. I was like, well, Friday was a full moon. Now, that's not an excuse, but the energies do cause people to kind of act out and react, and do a lot of things that are out of the ordinary. Um, I think we chatted about a couple other things, but I can't really remember what they are right now, so I won't get caught up in that. But so okay, so that happens, and then um, I come back like a week later, uh, and as I'm walking in, I see the door has a bunch of plywood on it, and in my mind I'm thinking, like, what happened? Like, they literally just I watched them install a brand new door. And and as I walked through, I could see on the inside that there had been, somebody had broken the glass, like there were still shattered pieces in it. And I just walk in, I'm like, what happened? Like, you guys literally just fixed this. He was like, yep. I guess a new set of guys, like an older guy, a couple of older guys, broke into the store again. And this time they were actually going for money, but the owner had the intuitive foresight to take the money, to grab the money and not leave it overnight. Um, so when they realized they couldn't get money, they decided to steal a few boxes of loose leaves again, and then like several vapes. But again, still didn't like wipe out the store. So just kind of strange. And you know, that got him and I talking a little bit, just like how crazy and extreme, like the extreme measures people are willing to go through for what in my mind is like minimal reward, you know? And also just the fact that people are feeling like they have the right to do that, and that they're in the right, and that they're maybe just taking what's owed to them in some capacity. And that led to this whole, you know, victim mindset where in many cases the person feels like life is not giving to them, it's only taking from them. So if life isn't going to give them what they want, they're going to take it regardless of the the destruction or the pain or, you know, any of the negative energies that they're causing, not only to, you know, the person it happens to, but like to themselves. And yeah, so it, you know, I just started kind of pondering on that because, like, at least for me, this isn't like a normal occurrence. Like, I'm not usually walking into one of my regular stores and seeing and hearing about these like back to back break ins. Maybe I'm fortunate enough that I don't encounter that. But when I do, something's like there's something for me to take notice of. So, so yeah, so I start thinking about that. And you know, how many people out there just feel like life is only ever working against them. The universe doesn't care, or God doesn't care, or, you know, all, you know, just feeling like it's every man for themselves, so to speak. And and if they aren't going to get what they think they deserve, then they're going to take it, regardless of how it affects anybody around them. And, you know, that's not to say that, you know, there aren't people who are, you know, in really shitty situations where they're constantly met with challenges, struggles, etc. So I'm definitely not trying to like negate that. And you know, when you feel like nothing you can do is right, and all you're just doing is all that's happening is you're just getting shit on, you know, I could understand how that might lead you to trying to take matters into your own hand. Um, but what I wish they would understand is that by doing that, they're only creating and attracting more of that into their life. Um, you know, for those of you who are aware, the law of attraction works both ways. It's not just about manifesting the things that you want. It's about reciprocating the energy that you put out into the world, whether it be positive or negative. So if all you're ever doing is just putting out negative energy, negative thoughts, negative actions, the universe it doesn't pick or choose who or how it delivers it. It's just going to reciprocate that. So, you know, these people stuck in this victim mindset where they're not willing to take accountability or ownership for their life and do something to try and make a difference in it. They're going to be caught up in this, you know, this cycle of just negativity constantly coming their way. Um, and you know, it's sad, and I feel for them because again, I know I've been there where you feel like you don't have control over your mind and all you can think are is like the worst case scenario, and you just don't see the hope. But I guess it takes courage and strength to be able to, and trust and faith, which I know is lacking with a lot of people. It takes all those things for you to finally be able to see a way out, to see a light at the end of the tunnel, regardless of how small it is, just to feel like you can change your life for the better. Um, yeah, I think when I first recorded this episode and like this topic, I was getting too hung up on trying to figure out like not only how do I present it, but like what's the lesson here? And I don't necessarily know there is a lesson. Um, it's more or less an observation that I think is important to put out there. So at the very least, if you're not aware of it, maybe you can either recognize it within yourself or someone around you. So um, maybe that'll bring you some peace with whatever your relationship is with them, because maybe without realizing it, they've been living in this victim mindset and, or, yeah, living in this victim mindset, and you just feel like everything is a struggle. And that, like, even if you try to uh, offer them a solution or some insight or perspective, a new perspective, and they're just not getting it, it has nothing to do with you. It's all within them. And it's all, you know, there's only so much you can do. And I think that was a tough pill for me to swallow, especially when I would see it with people really close to me, because once I became aware that that's the reality that they were living in, um, I just wanted to help them get out of it so they can just start changing their lives and making themselves feel more empowered, and like they actually do have control over what happens to them. Um, and stop attracting the negative energies that they've constantly been attracting. But then the other side of it too, and this is something I'm consciously aware of, is that there's a chance that they chose this path for themselves. Like, well, everybody chose their life. That's my belief. Chose their family, chose some of the situations they would encounter, chose the environment they would grow up in, chose their ethnicity, chose everything, literally. Before you incarnated, your soul knew what you were setting, you knew what you were going to put yourself into to some extent. Now, there is always the element of free will involved in um, life on Earth, and that's why it's so important for you to, even if you're in one of those environments, to make choices that, even if it's just how you view things and the mindset that you have, to do your best to shift those things. um, but yeah, backing up a little bit, some people chose to live a very challenging, tough life, you know um, and it's not because they did something bad in a past life, or because they're a bad person or anything like that. It's because, again, their soul wanted to learn and experience something, and the best way for them to do that was through a challenging life. So, it's all so complex. Like, nothing in this world is black and white, as far as humans and emotions go. Um, so there's not one solution either as far as how to bring these people out of it. Um, I guess the only way that'll ever happen is if they're able to finally acknowledge and recognize and take accountability for the life that they're living and the choices they've made in this life. We can't control everything, and again, there's a good chance that some of the um, some of the things we've experienced were like destined because our soul chose that. And so there's those things you can't get away from, but what you can control is how you choose to view them and how you choose to react to them. And that is not always an easy thing to do. um, Especially if you feel like you've always been surrounded by people who only see the glass half empty, or are also stuck in the victim mindset. Um, so I guess if you feel like you're in that kind of environment, or you feel like you can't get like a handle on how to move out of that, especially because of the people you're around, you know, there's something to be said about taking some time away, or setting up some boundaries and limiting that. And again, that's not an easy thing. It's something I've struggled with myself. Um, but when it comes down to it, you have to do what's best for you. Just because you were born into a specific family or are surrounded by a certain group of friends doesn't mean that you have to give all your time and energy to them. Um, yeah, I think it's important that more of us just kind of become aware of that idea and that concept. Again, not to say that we're going to be able to like help these people or fix them, but if you know that you want more peace and more balance and more, um, yeah, peace and balance within your life, you have to think about what's best for you, and you have to start taking the steps to to limiting those energies and to ultimately releasing them, whether they're coming from within you or around you, and focus on growing your light and your power, and be willing to acknowledge and take accountability for any of the choices that you've made that maybe led to less than desirable outcomes. Um, so yeah, I mean, if we want to see like positive changes in the world, you know, for those of us who want to help and help people heal, we have to be able to accept and understand that there's only so much we can actually do, like outside of ourselves, to help them. If it's somebody that you can have a conversation with and like sit down and maybe drop some seeds without pointing, like without making it them feel attacked, which is really difficult for a victim mindset person. But if you can drop little seeds, about how you maybe overcame something, or how you had to look at yourself or your life, or you're, taking accountability for that. Sometimes that's all that's needed, especially for somebody who's like teetering on the fence. Like they know that there's something they need to do differently, but maybe they're just unsure how. I think that's one of the best ways I've learned how to like kind of help others who are in that kind of space, is just not talk to them about what they can do differently. Just tell them what you did differently, and if they're ready to like kind of make some changes, eventually those little seeds will start to grow within them, and they'll start looking at themselves, and start making those changes. um, yeah, I remember one of the oracle cards that I love, and it was basically saying like, You can't fix anybody. You can't make them change. But as soon as you start to change your energy and start, healing and releasing the things that aren't serving you anymore, the people around you will automatically start to change. They'll either like consciously see it and be inspired, but either way, our energies are powerful, and the energy we put out can have it, like, can cause people to decide to start making a change within themselves. Again, they may not be consciously aware of it, but it's always having an impact. So the best thing you can do is keep working on yourself. Keep releasing and healing, and and just trust that the people that are meant to be in your life will stay. And the ones who feel resentment or, anger, jealousy, whatever it is towards you, those people just aren't meant to be in your life. Um, and they'll slowly start to drop off, like, away from you. And it's a beautiful thing, actually. I was actually talking to my friend Naomi about that last night. She's been going through feeling triggered, extra triggered lately with different situations that she's been in. And as I mentioned, if you're feeling triggered, it's because something within you wants to be acknowledged, healed, released, cleansed. But she was asking me last night, she was like, Katie, like, how do you get over that? Because I guess one situation, she was really affected by it for like 3 weeks, like every day. It was just constantly on her mind. And, you know, with as much love and compassion, I kind of laughed a little bit and I was like, I think, I don't know if I'm going to be able to tell you exactly what you want to hear. I don't think there's a quick solution. You know, it's taken me years to not feel like a trigger just like lingers in like an excessive way. And oh gosh, sorry, I got distracted. Some guys standing over there watching me, and it threw me off. Where was I going with that? So yeah, okay. So ultimately, I said it's going to take time. And if somebody has like an extreme reaction towards you that seems out of place, like, you have to understand that has more to do with them than it does with you. And and then I just kind of went into, because of all the work I've done and kind of the awareness that I've generated around that, those concepts, that like people's reactions towards you are actually uh, a mirror reaction. It's a projection from within them. But like I told her, I was like, I used to attract a lot of really negative, toxic people. When you're somebody whose intentions are to help and heal, and just you're kind and considerate and giving and generous, like, there's a lot of people who see that light who just want to take and not give anything back. And I had to go through several tough experiences um, of you know people taking advantage of me, and trying to manipulate my energies and my um, just trying to manipulate me. And once I was able to gain that awareness, I was able to actually, like, set the boundaries and recognize them, and be able to just, like, if they were totally toxic, I was able to just cut them out, and have them leave my life, in essence. And anyway, so doing that enough times, the universe eventually, and my energy changed, where I just don't attract that many people like that anymore. And if anybody like that even comes into my space, I'm able to recognize it. But it's actually pretty cool, because again, once you've done the work enough, those same people, ooh, those same people that were trying to, take from your light, they just don't even come into your space anymore. So I might have gotten a little sidetracked. Not sure. I hope, I felt the need to say that, so I'm just gonna trust it. Wind is really picking up right now. So maybe this is a good time to end this. So, moral of the story, the more awareness you can build around the kinds of energies that you're attracting, the easier it's going to be for you to ultimately acknowledge them, understand why you're attracting them, because there's a reason that you're attracting them. And sometimes it's just a matter of just you needing to learn how to set boundaries and not allow those people in. All right. I'm going to get out of here before everything blows away. So take care, guys, and until next time.